Welcome to the Breaking the Coconut Show. According to the IMF's Regional Economic Outlook for Sub-Saharan Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa will become the main source of new entrants into the global labor force. This gives credence to the term Africa Rising. As a follow-up to their commitments to infrastructure investments, African governments have turned to entrepreneurs to support future growth. The new birth of these entrepreneurs and startups has led to the rise of the need for their diagnosis and hence the birth of startup doctors. This episode features a startup doctor, Munna Unusal, as she shares insights working with millennial entrepreneurs and her heads up on her journey. In 2017, she was ranked as one of the top 100 most influential young Africans.
My name is Munna Unusal, and I'm a bundle of a lot of things, but the one I really love to talk about is being a startup enthusiast. I'm a mom, and I've set up several businesses that are thriving.
Okay, nice. Now, Munna, we had you here because we know you're the business multiplier. You're the consultant who takes ordinary ideas and makes several things from it. And there's this normal trend of millennials going into enterprises. Now, how has your own journey been as the person who nurtures businesses for most startups? How has your own journey been on that part?
Well, like every other startup, I've had my fair share of ups and downs. I've made stupid decisions. I've lost a lot of money. I've also had my wins, my happy moments that I've thrived. And in all of it, I would say that what has kept me in the game 10 years on, even more than that, but I like to say post-NYSC, Post-NYSC is more than 10 years actually. But what I like to say is, as part of the millennial, we are at the very edge of the beginning of the millennials years, but being within that category, I would say that what has kept me going, what has kept me in the game, and what has also helped me help the people I work with, is focus and constant quest for knowledge. So regardless of the area of business, okay, for instance, one aspect of my business is on skill acquisition, which I like to call entrepreneurship and innovation. That aspect of my business, I was able to take it from being a normal skill acquisition, the way skill acquisition, to become something that changes not just the mindset of people, but their lives. We've been able to take a simple skill, introduce it to people, teach them these skills, and in turn show them the journey, how they can make a business, make income, make profit out of that simple thing. So that's one thing I would say that has kept me in the game. Having a big dream, but keeping my feet firmly planted on the ground, within my reality, looking at the issues around me and finding realistic ways to solve it one problem at a time. This has helped me a lot this past 10 years.
Now, with your insights in this environment, could you be more practical? Help us with most of the recurrent practical challenges you see among startups. And let me look at the female folk, which happens to be one area that happens to be your own strength. What would you say is the recurring pattern that you, if you were given the chance, you'd be able to help? And you help most startups as females too.
One of the recurring things that I have experienced with women, especially when they are starting a business, they come with a great idea. Sometimes they already have a predetermined mindset. Women were very emotional. So for every idea we come up with, that idea is like a child, like a baby. And you know how attached we are to our children. And once they become attached to that idea and to the possibilities of that idea, it becomes difficult to separate them from that idea and to get them to think critically about it, to see the viability of the business. It becomes very difficult. But I've been able to help some people. And sometimes what I also see is, I have an idea, I have a little money, I start running with it. Most of them don't take a step back to actually do what I call an environment mapping. Who is doing this? Who has done this before? Did they succeed? Did they fail? Why did they fail? What are the things that they did wrong that I can learn from to get right in my own area? How can I change what it is that they've done to add my own DNA to it so that I can succeed? These are pertinent questions that I've realized that people don't ask, especially women. And then they run on full steam. Before you know it, cash is gone. Before you know it, a death of ideas. They don't know which way to go anymore. And then they come to Munna and say, Munna, I've been doing this. I have this product that I've actually launched in the market. I've gotten my NAFDAC number, but I just can't seem to move beyond this. And then I'm there telling them, okay, you know what? Why don't you just come in? Let's sit down. Let me even understand the vision you have for this particular venture you want to start. How much money do you have to start it? What have you run your numbers? I had one of my mentees come to my office, and I just did a simple exercise. We ran the numbers. I said, okay, when I run my numbers, my time, my hours, my time, the resources, all part of the resources that I put into it is not actually the naira and kobo I spent, but the time I spent implementing or creating that particular idea. That is also part of your cost. Because if you were not doing that and you sold that time to somebody else, that time will be paid for. So I tell people, when you're budgeting, your time should also be budgeted for. By the time we ran the numbers, he's into photography, we realized that what he was billing was probably like maybe 40% below what he's supposed to be billing. And he was running at a loss. And this is something he has been doing for a year.
He was in it with passion.
Passion, thank you. We are so passionate about what we're doing. We don't even want to see the practical side of what we're doing. But I deal on reality. When I train on reality. When I speak with my mentees and my clients, I bring reality into it. Let's break up this business. Let's look at it. Let's look at the nitty-gritty of this business. Who needs this solution? Is it evergreen? Can you make money doing this? Are you ready to stay in the game for 10 years? Do you see yourself doing the same thing for 10 years? By the time I'm done asking these questions, you'll find some people go and they never come back. They just go and find work, just go and apply and just get a job. Because one thing about Nigerians that I've noticed is that we are very entrepreneurial. We are very creative, and we know how to talk. We have such charisma that when we're sharing an idea with you, my goodness, you just bring out money and just say, look, I want to invest.
Yeah.
And they have the passion to sell an idea. But when you come to someone that has been in business, that has run a successful business or is currently running a successful business, a going venture, passion is not enough. It's important, but it's not enough. There are other things that needs to be done before you can become successful. I was in business for about 6 years when I realized that I'm the problem in my business. It's not my staff.
Okay.
Because I kept on hiring and firing and hiring and firing. And then I felt we were stagnating. We weren't going past a certain level of profit, And one day I just took a step back. And I asked myself, what really is the problem? And I realized that I didn't have the capacity to lead at the level my business was at. So it was either I stepped aside or I go and acquire the knowledge that I needed to be the leader that my business needed at that particular time. So what I did was I started hunting for an operations manager.
Okay.
So I found a lady and I just handed the business over to her. I said, you need to take this business and you need to run with this business. I'm not the person this business needs for me. I was building the academy like a school. It's not a hobby anymore, it's a proper school. And I know that I'm quite impatient when it comes to the daily running of a business. Yes. I'm very impatient because I'm very creative. So when you bug me down with administrative work, I get upset. But once I handed over that administrative part of the business to her, to run business functions on process, structure, routine, that routine must constantly be there. But I'm not really a routine person, because they say that in every genius there's a touch of madness.
Very true.
You know, so once I get creative, I do things very unorthodox. And my business, for it to succeed, doesn't need that craziness. But if I can hire my weakness, basically, and get somebody to be a buffer between my type of madness, which is great for the business, and what the business actually needs to succeed, which is that assurance that daily our doors will open, that daily our customers can come in and get what they need, then I need to do that. So that was the wisest decision I made, and this was like 3 or 4 years ago. I made that decision. I hired my weakness, and she was able to stabilize the business while I took time off to go back to school and acquire proper business training. I have a master's degree in media and communication, but my business training is actually the street kind of business training. I learned on the streets.
Cool.
But I needed to go back to school to acquire the why, the science behind why business is run the way it's run. And with those two experiences, I was able to merge them together to create the beautiful business model we have today.
Now, I think I would commend you. That's bold, because having you was one of the main reasons why we had to have you here, was simply because it's a recurring trend of follow your passion. It's a recurring trend of we having entrepreneurs coming up every day, but very few have the capacity. How are you as a consultant? How are you able to, what's your normal diagnosis like? A client comes in, entrepreneur, super passionate, has charisma, has social media presence, looks like the real thing. But when he's done with your diagnosis, you figure out that the books doesn't predict him, you see a red flag. How are you able as a consultant? How have you been able to manage it? And how are you managing it in this field? Because whether we like it or not, since we have medical doctors for health, you're like the doctor for startups.
Yes.
So how is it like for you?
I like that. Doctor for startups. Nice one.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, my medical diagnosis for startups, when they come to me, I do what I call a personal skill assessment. So beyond passion, I want to know the skill set you have already to run this business. So I make you write it down. And then I take you through a series of assessments. One, I have an enterprise assessment to check the viability of the business. Sometimes people get halfway and they dump the idea, because I ask you within the booklet, it's a booklet. So within the booklet, you're asked nitty-gritty questions. What is the name of your business? How will this name sell this business? Because it starts from a name. Where will it be located? Who will buy? What's the psychography of these people? Where is the demography? Where are they located? Within that place, what is their buying power? Because you need to think about it before you put your price. Now, what are you putting into this? In fact, we had to run a practical session for the juice industry. And we found out that majority of the fresh juices in Nigeria, majority of it, if you're not buying direct from the farm, is watered down. If you're not buying direct, because we had to, simulation in business is very good.
Okay.
You run a simulation, that's a reality, it creates a reality of what you're trying to, what you're proposing. By the time you run the simulation, you will see where the bottlenecks will be. You will see the challenges, and then you can go back to the drawing board to say, okay, how do we address this? How can we augment? If we juice pineapples, or if we juice celery,
okay,
how can we make profit? Should we add hibiscus drink, that's zobo? to it to make this business a profitable one? Should we focus on more of watermelon-based juices because it brings out a lot more water? Now, this is what happens when you run a simulation. When you come to me to either mentor you or to invest in your business or help you find a venture or an angel, what do they call them, investor, in your business, what I ask you is, what have you put into this business beyond the idea? What is your own personal investment? Now, if the challenge with millennials is that they're too impatient.
But Facebook is fast. Every other thing is fast.
Yes, everything, this is, I actually have a part in my book that talks about this, Everything is fast, yes. But building relationships, which is the core of every business, is not fast. It takes time. And when you start a business, you're building a relationship with that business. Don't get it mixed up. It's a relationship that you have decided to go into. And there is a responsibility that you have towards that business to groom it, to nurture it, and to ensure that it doesn't die. And that's, by the time I paint this picture and we run the practical sessions for them, I don't talk too much afterwards. I just sit and they will now be the ones telling me, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. I'm like, yeah, right, you need to do all of this to be able to get to where you're supposed to go. You need to be patient to birth this idea. Babies don't come overnight. They might be made overnight, but the process of birthing them takes 9 months. Trust me, I have twin daughters, and by 6 weeks to my EDD date, I was crying. I would sit and I would just cry. Because to carry a life, not just one, but two, within you, you are helpless. You are watching the process. You can't do anything about it but be in that moment at that time. And patiently wait for the time to come when these babies will come out. That is the same thing with business. You have to patiently stay in the game. You have to want it badly enough to do what it takes. For me to see that beyond the passion, you have the staying power. Beyond the passion, that you can keep my investment safe if I give you money to actually start this passion. That's why you keep hearing, oh, there are a lot of Nigerians that are passionate about a business, they are creative, they have great ideas, but nobody's supporting them. How can we support? When the things that you're supposed to do to enable that support to come, you're not doing it. But when you come to me, I give you 6 months to 1 year, you'll be able to access a BOI fund. Because I will force you, I will be your accountability partner, I will force you to do the things that you need to do to get to where you're going to. If it means packing up the business for now and going back into the workforce to acquire the necessary experience that you need to run your own business, then you'll do that. If you love that business, if you want that business to succeed.
Which very few people talk about. I think I like that part of you talking about people closing down the business. We think if we close it down, we're shutting down.
No, I've done it several times. And we're still here. Each time we come back stronger.
Insightful. Now, Munna, we're looking at the millennials and you've come from the point of view where Munna is a consultant, Munna is like a doctor to startups. What's your insight? What's your feedback to millennials that want to jump from the 9 to 5 to the normal, become an entrepreneur, which always looks very sexy? Which is like, I'm asking this because an average listener, most of our target audience here in the BTC show are millennials and change makers who believe it's their own core responsibility to change the world. Now you can't change it. You can't change that fact. It's like a bug. I don't know who did this to all of us. So most of us would finally start up something, and we would become rock stars in that world. But now, whether we like it or not, from a doctor's diagnosis, what's your own insight to them, so that it's easier, so that the shock doesn't come like a complete shock? What's your own insight from the patterns you've seen to millennials jumping in?
There's a particular business started by millennials that I'm very passionate about. They don't even know I'm passionate about this business. They don't even know how many people I've told about this business. But I saw them online. And I carried my 2 legs and I traced them to their office. And I sat down and I was just looking at them, 8 of them. But I saw about 3 or 4 of them that day. Graduated from Covenant University.
They always produce the best.
They didn't understand what was going on. I was just asking them mundane questions. So if I start this your business, what will happen? Daddy. But I was just looking at these young men and women, at the fire, the passion. And not just the fire and the passion. They were able to back these 2 things with action. And not just action, consistent action. We don't have investment now, but what skills do we have? Can you build a website? Are you a business analyst? What do we have? Can we pull it together to start this thing? Let's just run it. They started up a CV, something that after a while, I don't know what happened to it, but that didn't faze them. It didn't stop them. They went on to start something else that has become big. And maybe I'll just give them free publicity. It's called Piggybank NG.
Okay.
My goodness. I started saving, that's my testimonial for them. I didn't want to give a testimonial before, but I started saving 2,400 Naira, October last year, every day. And why did I do that? Because I said, it's my suya money, why should I be spending this amount on suya almost every day? And I sat down at the end of them, being a frugal entrepreneur. I sat down when I'm doing my course, because I always check where my money is going. Yeah. I check how it comes and where it's going. And I noticed that plantain chips and suya, when you're in traffic, you always buy plantain chips. And I found that plantain chips and suya were taking, how can I be spending between 30 to 60K every month? Because I used to do 6 hours a day in traffic, going from Vegeta to Surulere. And I was like, why should I spend this amount of money? So if you times that average of 40,000 by 12, that's how much I'm giving the plantain chips and suya business every year. It didn't make sense to me, being a businesswoman. So I started looking for options. And I found it through these millennials. They were able to set up something that today, I've said 600 and something thousand, on 2,400 every day, a business started by millennials. Now the question is, how come? Why? Because they sat down and did the dirty work. They said, we have this great idea, but is there a need for it? And is this need strong enough to keep us in this business for the long run? And the answer was yes. They went ahead, they were able to get Paystack to back them with Access Bank. And every day, they keep encrypting and putting security measures on their website to make sure that your money is safe. That's what I'm talking about. These are a set of people that are thinking. Now, what I don't know is if the partnership is working, because that's a different conversation.
True.
Because once success comes,
it has its
partnership is threatened. So that I don't know. Maybe when they come and sit on my couch, I can. But from the outside, what I see is a great business plan, great implementation strategy, and great structure and management team. That's what I'm saying. And for every investor, for everybody that wants to come and patronize your business, that's what they're looking out for. And that would be my advice to millennials. Whatever it is that you are passionate about, make sure that it's a solution that is evergreen. Be patient enough to stay in the game, to watch the idea grow and mature into something strong that can bring profit to you in the long run.
Okay, cool. Now this is the most interesting part, Munna, where you would say breaking the coconut in your own dialect.
Okay. I told my girl, I said they're going to make me break coconuts today.
No, I'll be fair to you. Now let me let you do the honors. Breaking the coconut in your own dialect.
I should say it in my dialect.
Say it in your own dialect.
Okay. Ekowaki.
Could you say it again the second time?
Ekowaki.
Amazing. Thank you, Munna. Thank you for coming to the show.
You're most welcome.